Here's a 98 Legacy GT with the 2.5 liter, and as you probably know, they leave you almost nothing for room to do anything. Got a little bit of freed up room back there when I changed, got rid of the torque box. Went with the EJ25 straight one. So, but anyway, up here, what I did was I loosened the bolt on the horn, moved it over 90 degrees. That gave me a little bit of space here. This is for the disc 2, which I'm going to be connecting to this coil. And so what I'm doing on the bottom is bending these wires over and cable tying them along here, and then I'm putting some L brackets in those holes there, there, and there. Those are facing down. This is at a 90-degree angle, and the way I'm going to mount this is pretty much right there. So that's going to be a screw going right into there. That's going straight down into the bottom. There's a little gap there, so I might just bend that bracket down so it's a little bit flatter on there. There's a big bolt right there, but this is where I'm going to mount it. That way I have access to all the switches, and I'll be able to see this pretty easy. And then this air tube right here can still be bolted to here. It's not going to affect that. So anyway, that's where I'm going to mount the MSD. This is the disc 2 unit for wasted spark ignition, again for that. So anyway, I'll do another video showing once it's connected and everything. Right now it's all stock settings. I'm just going to leave it at that for now, and so we'll just go from there. Okay, well, it's in. That one and that one, you're going to want to self-tap these first, because this metal is not easy to just put a regular self-tapping screw in. So anyway, bolted the brackets on 3 places to the case, and then bent the bracket a little bit. Pre-drilled self-tap screws. This thing is rock solid. I do that, I can't even get it to move. So that accomplishes exactly what I wanted. So I'll just mount this cable maybe down like this. I'll route it over to here, probably, I don't know, maybe along this or something. But anyway, there's just the next segment. Those are the power wires. Trigger. Okay, so anyway, I'll go to the next step, and then I'll record some more. Okay, so that's with it mounted, and this air tube going to the resonator inside the fender well, or fender in there, is secured, so I'm not going to be disrupting any of the natural airflow. This is pretty close to the hot radiator hose, but I think what I'm going to do is I might just shove some aluminum radiant barrier right in there, just for little extra blocking. Radiant reflector. Aluminum reflects 97% of whatever heat hits it on an ongoing basis, so that bubble wrap foil stuff, I might just put a layer in here, and if there's an air gap that this pushes it out and there's a little space here, then there's a little bit of space to reflect off of, because you don't want to heat the foil up just by conduction. Otherwise you do that and you don't get the benefit of the radiant reflection. So you do want a little air gap. I don't know, this aluminum might work. I'll just have to drive it around, test it out, see how hot this gets, and with enough airflow up through the engine bay, I don't know, might not even be an issue. But anyway, that's where it's going to fit. So it's just a matter of wiring it up when I get time to do that, either today or possibly tomorrow. And then we'll film more of it. Alright, well, here's the disc 2 hooked up. From the harness, there's really only 6 wires that you hook up. 3 go to the ignition coil, and 3 come from the harness. I have them bundled here for right now. We'll Probably going to stay there, but I'm going to have access into here to be able to wire in some diodes in order to get the plasma, which will be another topic in another video. But I just have these all coiled up in here. You definitely want to make sure that these wires with the connectors are connected. If they're disconnected, your car won't run, so you got to connect the white and the green ones. This is for tachometer interface. The blue and brown wires are for disabling the ignition totally. I just have the negative wire for power running along here and coming over right where I have the 0 gauge wire coming from the battery terminal, and then positive from the power I just have running right across here, tied onto there, and right here and going straight to the positive of the battery. 12.8, actually it's 12.6 because these are defective, sold on eBay. But anyway, it turns on, it runs. Still got to verify everything. I left all these settings stock, and so we'll just take it from there and see what happens. Okay, so this is a successful test right here. This is the MSD high performance coil right there on this EJ25 engine. I have the MSD Disc 2 in here with my little modification. What I'm going to do is I'm going to show before and after with the exact same amount of power. I'm going to be able to massively amplify this with a plasma ignition, and I'm going to have to plasma discharge. I'm going to show you that this is, you got to use non-resistor plugs, which I already have in the car. That plug is still hooked up. I just replaced this, so I can just put a plug in here to test, and that's grounded down to the plate, mounting plate for the coil. So what I'm going to show you first is the regular MSD spark, which is basically a multiple spark discharge. Get this thing to focus. Okay, and then so what I'm going to do first is do the spark, and then with the exact same joules of potential energy in the capacitor, which is about 115 millijoules at 1 microfarad at roughly between 400 and 500 volts, you know, at low RPM. And you're going to see that. Then what I'm going to do is turn off the engine. I'm going to connect one thing, put it back on, and so for the exact same power, you're going to see plasma. Stop it and then redo the video. Yeah. Okay, so that's the normal capacitive discharge mode with the MSD. I'm going to turn it off, I'm going to connect one thing, and you're going to see a massive amplification in the ignition. I don't know if I want to show this. Okay, now I'm gonna turn it on. All I did was connect a little modification, and we're gonna see what we got. That's with the exact same ignition coil, but I'm using my modification to create the plasma discharge, and I can make that plasma a lot bigger. We have a pretty tight gap on that, and if I made that gap bigger, the plasma gets even bigger. Might just bend that bracket down so it's a little bit flatter on there. There's a big bolt right there, but this is where I'm going to mount it. That way I have access to all the switches, and I'll be able to see this pretty easy. And then got rid of the torque box. Went with the EJ25 straight one. So, but anyway, up here, what I did was I loosened the bolt on the horn, moved it over 90 degrees. That gave me a little bit of space here. This is for the disc 2, which I'm going to be connecting to. Well, here's a 98 Legacy GT with the 2.5 liter, and as you probably know, they leave you almost nothing for room to do anything. Got a little bit of freed up room back there when I changed the way I'm going to mount this is pretty much right there. So that's going to be a screw going right into there. That's going straight down into the bottom. There's a little gap there, so I might do this coil. And so what I'm doing on the bottom is bending these wires over and cable tying them along here, and then I'm putting some L brackets in those holes there, and there. Those are facing down. This is at a 90-degree angle, and